horror fans, and welcome to another episode of Silver Screams. Tonight we are talking about Season 2, Episode 9 of MTV's Scream. We are so close! We're getting caught up. We're so close.
They're killing our suspects.
We've gotten to the point where they're starting to kill suspects. This is great! Through process of elimination, we will get to the bottom of this.
Only lover left alive?
Oh. I mean, although I also wouldn't put it past them to do what they did last season, to reveal one accomplice and then, have the other accomplice get away and leave the mystery for season 3.
At some point, you kind of just have to realize that this town is hell and leave.
Brooks realized it. Mic drop.
Yeah. At some point, if they keep backdooring it with another killer who then grabs another accomplice and does another round of murders, at some point you just kind of have to go, this town is a lost cause. We're done. Yeah. We're done. One person has ruined it for everyone.
That, and I know that, it's, again, if we're sticking with our list of suspects, I know that teenagers can be really manipulative and things like that, but this is super manipulative. This is straight up dance puppets dance.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy.
Wow. So
it's a friend. It's someone I'm seeing.
Myers is dead, so we were right to suspect that she was in league with the killer. We just were not necessarily sure on the degree, and it turns out she was just a pawn.
Yeah, I doubt that she ever wore the mask.
No. But yeah, it was definitely you're part of something, or it's all just a fun prank. We're gonna stick it to those jerks who turn our school into a freak show. And
I will be so amused if one of the ghost faces is the guy who got stabbed with a screwdriver at the beginning.
He takes off his mask and they're all like, "Who's this?
You stabbed me once." Oh yeah.
Just oh yeah, I remember you.
You pranked me in a movie theater by chasing me around in a Brandon James mask.
You stabbed me, so I vowed vengeance.
I don't know what you expected me to do.
Yeah, no.
It's like telling Emma, this is a very, very extreme circumstance. A lot of people would react this way.
So, talking about Emma, I will say that I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to see the initial confrontation with Audrey.
Valjean!
At last, we see each other plain.
Yeah, it felt like we'd missed an episode for a little bit.
For a minute, and even the last time on Scream or whatever, it was really interesting the way they ordered everything that had happened.
Because they led with the audio.
They led with the I can explain everything, and then they went into all the other stuff, and I'm pretty sure that the reason that they did that is because they chose not to show that moment. Whether that was intentional or if I feel like it was intentional. I feel like it was intentional rather than cut for time, because the importance of it isn't Emma saying, "Get out of my life," or "I can't talk to you," or whatever she actually said. The important thing is that it has created a rift in their friendship, and now they both have to sort of deal with that in their own way in this episode. And of course, Audrey's way of dealing with it isn't, and this is something that she does, it's not actually confronting the problem, it's who can I blame for this problem? And she's gone through probably the last 2 seasons doing just that, rather than kind of confronting whatever issue she's going through head on, admitting her own guilt, and trying to figure out a way to move past that, being honest with everybody. She's instead went, who betrayed me? Who betrayed me? It was, Noah, but obviously whoever's doing this is manipulating you, so we have to find out who did this to you and me.
I mean, on one hand, she's got a point.
Oh, no, absolutely.
This is not a recording that should have occurred, full stop, and there's definitely not a way that it should. I recorded you by accident. You didn't save it on accident.
Well,
you titled it Audrey.wave. I mean,
the flip side is I actually do give him, again, just remembering the beginning of the season when she was holding a bookend over her head ready to strike him, he had good reason to fear that she might either, one, admit something terribly criminal to him and then implicate him in a series of murders, or 2, straight up attack him.
Yeah, because he saw all the stuff on her phone.
I can't necessarily blame Noah for recording it in the first place.
You can definitely blame him
Yeah.
for not getting on his girlfriend's case about why did you take that recording? Why did
Without
you send it to
permission.
yourself? Well, I'm a fan of the podcast, and
I'm a fan,
no.
if I blink my eyes really pretty at you, then you'll just be butter in my hands. And
Well, yeah.
I still
So
think
just-
Zoe is definitely a huge suspect. Miss, I'm gonna divert the blame from me and then also say, hey, you know what's a good idea? Flipping the circuit breaker.
Admittedly, that was a good idea.
No, it wasn't. It is the opposite of a good idea. Because you were at a party
Killing-
with teenagers with masks on, being brought there by a killer, turning out the lights. That is a terrible idea.
Killing the music would have been a good idea. Doing this until you can find out what goes where is a good idea. Brr, was not a good idea.
Terrible idea. And she straight up said, without music, without lights, you can't have a party. She meant both.
Yeah.
And for somebody who seems to be as big of a horror fan as she claims, you should know better.
I mean, did we see either of them after the party? In the aftermath? I don't think we did.
No.
We didn't see them after the whole let's flip the switches scene.
Yeah, no. We just know that they're alive because, you know,
We didn't see them. The last shot of
we
the
know that-
episode was going back in and seeing what's her name crucified under the sign.
Myers.
Yeah.
Haley or whatever. No, because the point for the killer in this particular scene wasn't killing Zoe and Noah as he claimed it was, but rather showing off Piper's dead body, which, how did he get a hold of that?
Lake diving.
I mean,
I don't know what the butt.
I would have to go back to
How?
the beginning of the season and see if they ever mentioned Piper's body being missing.
I don't think they did because she was shot and fell into a lake. That's all. It's really hard to find bodies in water.
But that would mean that's the second time they've lost a body in this lake. Because again, they never found Brandon James.
Someone's gonna go down there and just like find 18 bodies in there.
Speaking, you're just like, wow,
This town is cursed.
there are apparently lots of murders going on in this town. We just never noticed until now.
It's like built on an ancient Indian burial ground or something.
Would not surprise me. Although, speaking of Brandon James, something we didn't mention yesterday that you pointed out while we were watching the episode, which is a brilliant little detail, was when Emma went to the Ferris wheel and Daisy is playing in the
That's
background.
right.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. But
And this one, the killer sent daisies to Miss Lang's room.
Yeah. Saying,
From
addressed
Piper.
from Piper. Whew. So, and in this episode we find out that Lang and Piper were friends, which completely explained, because we initially thought that Lang was just an opportunist.
Yeah.
Who was just using these kids as sort of a way to capitalize her way to fame
I mean,
and
she
recognition.
probably still is.
I mean, of course, but we can understand the narrative framework a lot more in terms of painting Emma Duval as a villain, as a psychopath.
Against someone who has a body count of about a dozen.
Yep, well, against a childhood friend
Who has a body count of about a dozen. And I mean, if they grew up in a terrible place, they grew up in a girl's home that was evidently an insane asylum beforehand, which at that point, if you have an old-timey insane asylum, just raze it. R-A-Z-E, raze.
Burn it to the
ground.
ground. Burn it to the ground.
Don't build another building on top of it. You can make it a parking lot if you want.
Burn it. Salt the earth. Just steer clear of it. It's fine.
Just don't. Just don't.
Just
But
don't.
no, they made it into a girls' home. It was basically an orphanage but
Which-
for girls, and
To be fair,
evidently that was closed down in an abuse scandal. Something about children in the attic and
attic.
abuse, and it's like this is
probably better that most of those details were hand-waved in this episode. But I will say also, to be fair, we are also making an assumption that Lang and Piper were friends based on this narrative structure and based on the photograph. They could have hated each other growing up. We have no idea.
They were still in the same home at the same time, though.
Exactly. And I'm sure that very much has colored Lang's perception of the Lakewood Six. Definitely for the worse is my guess.
They killed my friend. She spent a long ass time trying to kill them and killed a lot of people around them. Like,
yeah, killed a lot of people who had nothing to do with anything. Who were just doing their jobs or hanging out or just being teenagers. Absolutely nothing to do with anything. Just being teenagers, making teenage mistakes.
So I'm having a hard time finding sympathy for the devil in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, you could if you tried, but the second where it's like, I'm gonna make this a murder spree. It's like, oh, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
We're terrible. We're done.
Yeah, no, the whole sibling plot line. I'm trying to think of like whether or not I can think of a movie where it was ever really, like their actions were ever really justified, and I am hard pressed to find an example at this particular moment.
Where a murder spree is justified? There's justifiable
at least in
homicide.
terms of like justifiable like craziness or split personality or anything where you could sort of be like, okay, I get it, but no, not really. Or Count of Monte Cristo revenge style stuff.
So much of that is, Hollywood doesn't really understand mental illness.
It doesn't. Which is fine.
Like, even when it does think pieces on mental illness, it's like,
they try, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that Lang and Piper had a previously unknown connection, which again is very interesting, which makes me think that maybe they weren't friends is because the killer did target her specifically.
I just came up with a justifiable killing spree. Sydney killing every freaking ghost face that comes after her.
Because there are so many.
She's up to like 7. And every single one of them is a justifiable homicide. It's all self-defense.
Don't fuck with the original.
Don't fuck with the original. Seriously. Again, I haven't seen Scream 3, so I don't know, but I think that the only one that she
didn't even kill him in Scream 3.
Billy. Technically, Gail.
No, she killed Billy. Because he jumped up and she shot him in the head.
It wasn't
She
Gail
killed Billy, she killed Stu, she killed Mrs. Loomis, and Liev Schreiber killed, and
the other guy.
Mrs. Loomis killed the other guy, Timothy Oliphant, and then Dewey killed her brother, and then Sydney's cousin killed her accomplice, and then
Gail killed her cousin.
No, Gail stalled her long enough. Sydney was the one that did clear.
Oh, that's right.
And then subsequently shot her when she got back up, because they always get back up.
Okay, so she's up to like 4.
Yeah, she's up to plenty.
Still.
Wow, I'm really surprised that I can recount all of those. Wow.
That was impressive.
Thank you. It would be better if I could remember every single character name, but oh well.
So yeah, that is your justifiable homicide spree, is 4 people over the span of like 30 years. All of whom attempted to kill her first and had body counts.
Not in my movie. Fair enough.
Come up with a multiple body count scenario that's justified.
But so, and this kind of adds a little bit of credence, I think, to our 2 ghost faces with potentially different agendas. Because this ghost face targeted her when this person, by all accounts, as of right now, seems to have had a friendly relationship with Piper. And yet this ghost face still went out of their way to attack her, to target her in some way, shape, or form. So we can at least assume that at least one of the ghost faces is either trying to torture her or sees Lang's attempt at creating this narrative
or just
as
the
contrary
information that she has in there.
That's
She's
also
got
very
a
true.
ton of information.
a ton. Which, again, the
Most
killer
of it was
dangled.
taken involuntarily.
Well, and it could be that she's just another pawn as well. That because
Probably.
she's gathering all this information, the killer decided to use it to his or her own advantage to get all the players where they needed to be. Because this is another episode where everybody lined up exactly where the killer wanted them to be. And again, last
We've
two
only
episodes
had one episode that was where
they were thwarted. Yeah, they have been so good at being like, you go here now, you go here now. If I send you this text message, you'll go here.
The janitor just needs to come back and keep showing up in very.
The janitor will be the unsung hero of this series
because he's the spanner in the works. He keeps just screwing up the Ghostface plans. I would love that.
One of the reasons
mini-series about the janitor just showing up
and ruining Ghostface plans. I like it. But one of the reasons why the killer is able to stay one step ahead of everybody and been really good about getting them in the places that they need to be is that he had Noah's rue bugged.
Or so Noah thinks.
Or so Noah thinks. And so he or she has been conceivably listening to Noah from the very beginning. Which is
creepy.
Again, this Ghostface has been established as being very good at breaking into places. So whether it's Eli or Gustavo, which I'm still thinking it's Eli, both of whom have been shown being very good.
The murders happened before Eli showed up. So he could only be a Ghostface. He would not have started the plan.
Yeah, no. If Eli is in on it, I definitely...
He would have been recruited upon his arrival or somewhere.
Absolutely, nearby. Or would have been in contact with the Ghostface who was already getting things in the works done, which makes sense why he was able to, be like, okay, we're going to stay. So I definitely think that. I definitely think that whoever's pulling the strings recruited Eli and that Eli is solely doing this so he can get Kieran's nice things. And because he thinks it's fun,
including
I'm sure.
Kieran's girlfriend.
Like I said, Kieran's nice things.
Eli's not date material.
No. But yeah, do we want to talk a little bit about Emma and Audrey's sort of, because we talked about the way Audrey deals with this, and it's we gotta get to the bottom of this, and I blame you, Zoe, for doing this because it was a terrible thing.
And it was good that she got that reality check from Noah. Mm-hmm. She needed that. She did need that.
Noah needs a reality check now.
Reality check in terms of Zoe, because holy crap, seriously. Even if she just, you want to stand up for her, you want to say, okay, you believe her, fine, but you still need to address the fact that she went onto your computer and
stole your personal property and
took a file off your computer. That's an issue.
And even so, even if the killer is listening to everything, that's still, I don't know about you, when I send files to myself, it's pretty quiet.
Had to lift the file from somewhere if they hacked Zoe's email, or if it actually was Zoe, or who even knows.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't really get an apology from her either, which again makes me think that she's so hot and bothered by Noah coming to her rescue that she doesn't think to say, I'm sorry I violated your trust.
Oh no, that came across as very much, I'm going to distract you.
Yeah. Which, good for Noah. Good for Noah. But now it is a little bit
that scene was absolutely fucking ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
It was real dumb.
Good for him, though. But the bad part now is that he's no longer a virgin.
I ruined your virgin, now I have to kill her.
That was the plot point in the first one.
Yeah, but that was some really interesting phrasing. I ruined your virgin.
No, I think the killer said something along the lines of, your virgin's been ruined. I'm pretty sure he didn't say I.
Said I.
If he said I ruined your virgin, then that definitely means it's Zoe.
Who knows?
Either that or it's just, I'm such a good master manipulator. But Emma's reaction of actually violently pushing her and saying, I do blame you in front of everybody. I gotta say, I was a little taken aback by that. But you can't really blame her either because she's been through so much. It's a surprise that she hasn't reacted more violently to more things. And poor Emma, when, you know, she hears this tape recording too, is like, is that how people see me? As like violent and like just absolutely off her rocker?
I feel like it's one of those things, again, we have kind of a fictional conceit with this town, and no one really going, you know what, she witnessed a lot of murders and then she had to kill someone in self-defense. This is not something you can
And now
really
someone's messing with her again.
And so it's like, I feel like there should be a lot more sympathy and understanding from the surrounding people, and no one really seems to want to do that. And I think that's more of the, we're going to make the town seem awful so there's no place for her to turn. Da, 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 da. I'm like, no, if this were a normal human being thing, I feel like there would be a little more understanding. Or at least
know.
Like,
People are kind of awful.
but even just like, holy cow, she's being really violent. Yeah, remember the time that someone tried to kill her like 6 times? Yeah, that's
in one night.
Like, oh yeah, she's been through a lot. Like, and it's still happening. People are still dying. It's another open case. So you kind of have to take a step back and go, yeah, no, this makes sense. This makes sense. And the fact that it's, oh, it doesn't make sense. She's being weird and violent. We're hitting Ryan Murphy levels of fictional
Scream Queens,
world.
yeah. Oh, I can't wait for that to come back
Next
too.
week?
Yeah,
Next week.
Like I said, happy birthday to me. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited.
Is that on your birthday?
No, close, but very close. But yeah, so good stuff. But yeah, to kind of get back to this wonderful show. Yeah, Emma's been through a lot, and as we've seen before, you know, Lakewood isn't necessarily the most sympathetic of townsfolk. I mean, this is a town
of shit.
This is a town that allegedly drove a kid with a facial deformity to commit acts of murder,
and then drove his family out of town.
Yeah, you monsters.
Let's celebrate our centennial.
Give it up for Brooke, everyone.
And that impassioned speech. That's what got me. That impassioned speech by Brooke. That's one way to put it.
Way to prove her point.
What a spin doctor.
From here to the rest of the series, I will never think that that's not funny and hilarious. But
impassioned speech.
Talking about Brooke, though, she kind of took a back seat a little bit in this episode.
She had a hell of an episode last episode. Like,
she did.
She deserves a break.
She does deserve a break, but she doesn't necessarily get one either. I say took a back seat in this episode in terms of just she's like processing a lot. She and Gustavo sleep together, and she's like, "Look, this was great, but I need some space."
Yeah.
Hope you're cool with that. And then
that also means that he slept with her while she was drunk, which...
Yeah, but she called him over, and...
You can't consent when you're drunk.
They're teenagers, and she seemed to be okay
they did.
with it.
Yeah, so it's just like... Things I noticed that the show seems to be okay with.
I think she doesn't... Agreed, you... Definitely some consent issues there. But the way it was played here, it was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that I did. That's not a surprise. And I'm not bothered by it.
For real life purposes, you can't consent while you're drunk.
Just...
Life lessons, the more you know.
Anywho, if you're coming here for a PSA, you're doing it wrong.
You're on the wrong shit. I'm sure you'll learn a lot here, but it may not be what you want to learn.
I don't know what you learn here. I don't know what any of you learn here. But
our opinions, obviously.
Like I said, I don't know what you learn here.
It may not be what you want to learn.
But point being is that Gustavo starts ignoring his dad because his dad thinks he's a potential murderer, and we find out a little bit more about what happened in Phoenix. As Gustavo goes through the evidence, not only do we find that out, but we find out what it was exactly that Jake was hired to do. He was hired to burn down said development area.
That burned down 2 episodes ago.
That burned down 2 episodes ago, so I wonder if Ghostface is like, hey, I did the job. You want to pay me now? Or I
Texting him from Jake's phone.
just like, hey, just
Venmo.
just make the check to cash. It's fine. But
You can Venmo Jake. I'll take it from there.
it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
And this is why you always lock your phones, so a killer can't use them.
Jeez. But so the sheriff, so Gustavo's gotten that information, and Brooke confronts her dad, which he's a terrible, despicable person who still has stuff spinning in the works. And I'm only just now realizing that, like, he still has stuff spinning in the works.
We haven't seen Eli's mom in a while.
We haven't seen Eli's mom in a while, so we don't know what job he asked her to do. I'm sitting here, I'm like, did she light the fire? Like,
which would have been hilarious because then she wouldn't have known that there were dead bodies up there either.
No, like, how crazy would it have been if Ghostface stashed Branson's body there, like, I'll come back for him later, I have plans for him. Eli's downstairs, again, independent of Eli's mom going, well, time to burn this place to the ground and collect my paycheck.
Because she didn't notice that there were lights in the room.
Well, we didn't see who started. We didn't see Ghostface sitting here with a flint. We just assumed that because Ghostface dumped the bodies there and that Emma was inside, just toot, toot.
I'm imagining Ghostface with a flint and tinder.
Ting, 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 ting. Damn it! Ting, 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 damn it! This is a problem you can't stab away, Ghostface. You
Lighters! Bring a fucking lighter.
I don't know why he'd be using it.
I don't either, but I love it.
Ding, 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 ding. Like a campfire. But anyway, so it's entire. Aww.
Little camp there.
Little camp. But I mean, the point is that we like. Because I kind of feel bad in terms of, like, this is a character who's done bad things who now has to confront that, and his daughter is disowning him, as well as she should. He's done terrible things, but at the same time, a character who has to confront their moral choices like that, a lot of times in shows and movies like this, not long for this world. And it's not them I feel bad for, it's the people around them.
I feel bad for Brooke.
Exactly.
She just keeps running out of people.
She does.
Her mom is in therapy somewhere, isn't she?
Her mom's been squirreled away still. Her dad
is a terrible human being.
Got her boyfriend killed, whether intentionally or unintentionally. He got her boyfriend killed. Got a lot of people killed. And then has just been lying to her ever since about his involvement. And
killed someone with his car, stashed it in the freezer,
and she has to hear about it.
One too.
And she has to hear about it from the creeper son of the sheriff, who is obtaining this evidence by sneaking into his dad's office, which, by the way,
unlocked, evidently.
Just because he's the sheriff's kid doesn't mean you should let him rifle through evidence drawers.
He left the door wide open while he was.
No, he just closed the blinds. What's wrong with you,
that
Lakewood?
Was hysterical.
What is wrong with you, Lakewood PD? You guys are terrible at your jobs.
I feel like it's the police department from Hot Fuzz.
Oh, no, there would be a lot more laughter.
He forgot his hat today.
But and again, the flip side of this too is that the sheriff has now been a lot more open with Daisy, with Emma's mom, about the whole affair. And we found out that the reason Gustavo needed to get away from Phoenix was because he shot his friend in the face and then drew it.
Supposedly accidentally. And this was evidently right after his mom died. They managed to get a hold of the sheriff's gun.
They were messing with a gun right after his mom died. I'm like, I feel like that's not a thing that you'd be doing.
The kid got shot in the face. Gustavo called it in. By the time they got there, the kid was dead. But Gustavo was sitting there drawing it, and there was some question as to how long he waited before calling it in. Which, it was ruled an accidental death. Okay, whatever. But it's still just kind of like, yeah, this is a problem.
You're insane. Like, again, I don't think he's one of our ghost faces, but he has
help.
issues.
He just, capital N, capital H, needs help.
Yeah, like I said, I'm almost positive he's not a ghost face, but he's definitely fixated on the more morbid aspects of life and this town and the people around him.
I mean, like, being fixated on morbid things doesn't necessarily make you
this is
bad
a
or
horror movie
unstable.
channel. No, of course not. But
sitting there and drawing your friend as he's dying after you've accidentally shot him is like...
Or after he's accidentally shot himself. We weren't there. We didn't see a flashback. But, you know, it could very well have happened that it wasn't an accident, that he just shot his friend in the face and then drew it.
I was wrong.
And then sat down and drew it. That's the worst case scenario of this thing. Best case scenario is still not that great either, in that his friend best case scenario is that his friend shot himself in the face, and Gustavo still called it in and still felt the need to draw it for some reason.
Every case scenario.
Not
Dead child.
great.
Gustavo drew it.
Yeah, it's just differing degrees of messed up, I suppose. But yeah, none of that is good. Brooke needs to get with... I mean, I applaud him wanting to get the truth out for her, but I'm also like, I would not want to be the type of person that type of person fixates on. At all. In any capacity.
No, but he's just drawing his classmates all torn up, and it's like... friend.
She needs help,
Maybe
but not
hidden.
from somebody else who also needs help. Yeah.
Just like, everyone go get help.
Yeah,
Get a
please.
therapist that actually has your interests at heart.
Yeah, get a therapist who's not, yeah, like just 100% self-serving egomaniac. Because that's what she seemed to be. That's what Lang seemed to be. Oh, Lord. Which, by the way, great scream for when Emma showed up at her bedside. And again, that's one of the things where obviously she knows that what she's been doing isn't on the up and up, and she was afraid of the consequences. And or she woke up from being sedated, saw her friends kill her, and was like, ah!
Just went, nope, I am out, I am done, I cannot do the thing.
Any number of things. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this episode that we haven't touched on yet.
I mean,
do like
breaking
the party.
into Lang's house and finding the picture, but we touched on the picture, so.
Yeah, I gotta say though, whoever actually is pulling the strings, their gift-making ability is great. And I love that none of the students questioned the fact that Emma and Audrey were throwing a rager together. Like, hey, we pushed each other in the hall earlier, we made up, and now we're throwing a bitchin' party!
Throwing a rager together, themed after the murders. Like,
woo!
that's 3 strikes.
I mean, granted...
Then again, I try to apply
kind of-
logic to this, so.
I will give them credit, in the wake of Brooke's speech, it does actually make a little bit of sense.
That's true.
It makes a lot of sense in that, like, fuck this town sort of way. So, in a lot of ways, I can understand why some people would see it and be like, rad, yo! And I could
Rebellion.
but I also still am like, how did no one actually question it?
No one went to them and said, hey, cool party.
Or started texting them and been like, oh, dude, I'm gonna totally be there. I'm down. I don't know what, I keep doing this because, like, this is my sweatshirt right now. Like, yeah. I don't know what year this was cool. What year was this cool? 92? I don't know. Hang loose, yo. Point being, these high school students, yeah, I have to agree with Noah, has no one seen a scary movie before? Bad things happen to kids who attend parties in Murderville, USA.
Has no one seen Scream 4?
Well, no one in this universe. Those movies don't exist.
That's true. Has no one seen Stab 7? Wait, no, that one had time travel.
It is by far the worst. But yeah,
Anyway.
I think that's about it for right now. Do we have any other theories or any other thoughts on this episode?
Still about the same as last week.
Yeah.
We didn't get a lot of Eli, but we didn't really need any Eli.
Well, and I'm glad that Meyer came back because I've been keeping her as a suspect in my back pocket for a good long while. And you pointed this out because I made the assumption that the person she was talking to was a boy, but no, she never actually assigned a specific gender pronoun to her special friend.
It might not have been a blowjob. She might have been eating out.
Yeah, that's not how I would have put it because that's very explicit. But but yeah, I
take it out in post.
But yeah, no, how great is that? That like, hey. We're still keeping it completely gender neutral. This person, whoever they may be, could be male, could be female.
And it wasn't they come up in a Ghostface costume and you think it's the person.
No!
It was actually the person that she was dating because then they pulled the mask over their face before she was able to go in for a kiss. So it's like,
I will say though, if we go back to the beginning of the season, did she say, when Audrey grabbed her phone from her that one time, did she say she was just texting with her boyfriend?
I don't know.
I don't recall. I want to say that's what she said, but I don't remember because it was half a season ago. Yeah. So I would be very interested to go back and take a gander at that. But she could have been lying. Who knows? But yeah, whoever it was, they walked into the room with the mask off. She recognized him or her. They pulled the mask down and then murdered her. So we know for a fact that her special friend was in fact the murderer.
Definitely.
So if we follow the Myers trail, we may very well find out who's responsible.
I feel like she's better at covering her tracks than a lot of people here.
Which
like she will arbitrarily be better at covering her tracks because it'll make things that much more interesting.
Which says a lot about like how badly she was duped by whoever, because she's clearly a smart person when it comes to at least her cyber footprint, I suppose you could say, and in terms of like being able to plan these elaborate pranks. She was a very clever girl, but like not clever enough to see when the wool was being pulled over her eyes, and also not clever enough to just hide her very overt disdain for the Lakewood Six. Like, just overt disdain. Like, that was not, she had no poker face when it came to any of that.
Well, one of them stabbed her friend with a screwdriver. He absolutely deserved it.
Yeah.
He absolutely deserved it.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't die. He's fine. She's not. She's dead now.
He's somewhere. We don't know.
Like I said, she's dead now. So, yeah. The only other thing I want to point out was that I actually did really love the lighting at the party.
Yeah.
Like the lighting at and I did think it was like a really brilliant idea for the killer to lead these breadcrumbs and then throw a party at the end of this little scavenger hunt.
It was
they had sent them on.
It was kind of bordering on Xanatos Gambit because
we have been playing Xanatos Gambit for the last 2 episodes because, again, every little piece that they've set up has fallen into place perfectly, even when everybody in this game knows that they're being manipulated.
See, for me, it was just the timing. It's like there had to have been some planning to go into this party to get that many masks to hand out, to get the lighting set up. Like, there's a lot that goes into event planning, even if it's not a huge event. And so they had to have picked a date at some point in advance. Basically, long story short, they had to have made sure somehow that this was the day that they got the clue to go to the home. Like, they had to guarantee
at the very beginning of the day, Emma got that tape. And they listened to the tape at home, so they go to the hospital for answers, and then from there, based on, the evidence they find there, they go to Lang's home, and then from there, they find the very blatant clue that was left for them, and then they made their way over to the children's hospital where the party was being held.
But there are so many factors in there you can't control, Lang being the chief among them.
Yeah.
Like, what if she'd said something completely inaccurate and sent him off on a wild goose chase, and they didn't go back to searching her house for another day or two?
I don't suppose you have a plan D.
I have a plan F.
But yeah, so there's a lot, and granted, again, while this Ghostface is very good at manipulating people, it's the same with any cinematic thing. You just have to a lot is left up to chance that just happens to fall into place. For the convenience of the plot, and it did. But you know what? In this particular case, I am fully it's okay. It's not like Batman v Superman, Lex Luthor's convenience sort of things. This is a lot more like, okay, no, this is a person who is being very attentive to everything and is being able to plan accordingly and around that and plant the pieces that they need to for further on down the line.
So you can roll with a time inconvenience or two.
Exactly. So you can just roll with it as opposed to just kind of scratching your head and going, what? How? Why? So confused. But yeah, no, lighting was great at the party. All in all, good episode.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited to get caught up for the rest of the season.
Oh my gosh,
so good.
Yes, you're so close.
So good. So yeah, Katie Cullen, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Kiaxet, that is Kiaxet. If you want to see us react to non-horror things, it lives on that YouTube channel.
And I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams at Silver_Screams. Like us on Facebook. Leave a comment below. We want to know favorite party scene in a horror movie. What is the big, woo? For me, there are lots of them. A lot of horror movies have crazy parties. I have to say that the party at the beginning of This Is the End was pretty entertaining. That fun horror comedy. If you guys have any other ones, leave them below.
The one in the original party where we got the rules.
You don't know the rules? Everybody's got to know the rules. I was going to say, that's a really good one. That is a fantastic one. So yeah, let us know what you guys think. I think that's just about it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time.